had all my knives out and I was like, fuck it, I'll just do a comparison video. I've been meaning to do it for a while. Now people have been waiting for a review on this, so I'll probably try and do that as well. But you know, while they're out, I don't usually have them all out at once. I'll try and give you a little rundown. So these are all clones, I know, but life's hard outside of America. Things get super expensive super quickly, and I did have a long chat with what's his name, 50 Blades of Grey. Could be a little bit abrasive, but he made some fair points, you know. So this has actually been the last one that I've bought, and I haven't bought anymore because I'm trying to find ways around it. So I'm not going to buy any more for a little while. But you know, for people who have the same struggles, you know, I think this video might be useful to them. So we're going to start with the 42. That's the titanium 42. Now, this thing, if I'd have had this when I was learning how to flip, I feel like I would be much better by now, because it's just, I can see why people like it so much. The weight, the balance, the shape, the look of it, you know, the fact that it's little things you don't realize, you know, like it's really easy to clean, it's really easy to maintain. The blade shape's very strong. The fact that it's 440C means you don't have to worry about getting it wet or stuff like that. You know, it basically looks after itself. You know, it's a real beater knife. The only thing you got to worry about is that tang pin, and you can see that mine's seen better days. But all you do is you stick it in a vise, you crush it down, and it's back to being fine again. You know, so. This is made by The One. I'm looking, I know Ken Fong does a version of this with bushings, which if you can get that, because the only thing that pisses me off about this thing is the play and the fact that, you know, that. But, you know, you can't have everything. But as a beginner, I'd recommend this over anything else. Honestly, it's everything you need. It's a middle ground in terms of weight and length and balance. Honestly, it's a really good knife to start on. So yeah, that's that. This is the Ken Fong version 6 Fly Tie 51. Now this one I have a strange relationship with, because this is the only knife that's ever scarred me. I've got a little, you can see that there? Yeah, that's a scar right there, and that's from this boy. I think I was trying to do like a blender or something, and it just like turned around in my hand. But yeah, this one is heavier than this by a fair bit actually. The fly tie scales add a lot of weight to a 51. You know, this is all titanium, and a normal stock 51 is lighter than this, so that's saying something. For flipping, sometimes with these spear point blades I find them a little bit scary, because you know, like when this thing's flying around in the air, you can't always tell which side is the blade. You've got to really keep an eye. That's why this and the latch are still on, because they're light enough not to really affect it that much. And you know, it's just another visual aid that you have. I'd say this it's another good all-rounder, to be honest. You know, rollovers and twirling. The rollovers really come from the weight that it has, you know, which makes them very easy, and then the twirls and fanning comes from the fact that it's very thin and it's rounded as well. So this is again like a really good all-round knife. I would recommend this one over this one if you're into flipping, but if you want a knife that does everything and you're going to look after it and you're going to take out and you're going to use it as a knife, I'd recommend this one between those two. Now, the next one is the Ken Fong Basilisk in G10, or the Basilisk R. I love this thing so much because there's no play, there's nothing. It hardly moves at all, you know. It's just solid, and there's something about G10 knives that's very comfy. On top of that, this comes with a crown spine as well. You know, everything's rounded, everything's chamfered, everything in the top, you know. If I can get this thing to focus. There we are. Everything's rounded, you know. Very, very comfy knife. Very, very aesthetically pleasing knife in whatever colour you get it. I know Smokey's got one of these in orange and blue. It looks really good. It almost made me jealous, but you know, blue and gold. It's just, I kind of got it for ease of seeing it, I guess. Now, this knife, when it rollovers, aerials, stuff like that, you know, it's very predictable, you know. But when it comes to fanning and stuff, you kind of have to try hard, because I mean, this thing is thick, man. I mean, there's the 42 and there's the 51 next to it, and I mean, look at the difference. It's a very, very thick knife, which means, like I say, it doesn't turn so easy in your hand, and because it's G10, there's not enough weight to speed that up either. But on the upside, because it is thick and it's flat on this side, when you're doing twirling, it always, oh, that was good, it stays like straight in your hand. It'll never like turn around on you like rounder knives, like, you know, like an Anatropos Demon or something like that, where they're really round, oh, and they kind of want to just turn in your hand while you're using them. But yeah, this knife, if you've got other Balis that you can use and you're into it and you like knives that look cool, this is a very good one. But I mean, you know, you look at it, you're never going to take this thing out. I mean, it's just, it's intimidating, you know. Very pointy, and it's a bit of a scary knife to look at. If someone who didn't know what they were, you know, they'd think you're going to mug them or something. So this one's purely a flipper. I'll never use it for anything else, hence no latch, stuff like that. It did come with a latch on the bite handle, which is what this pin is for, and this one comes without a pin in it at all. Now when I took the latch off, I found that this handle was heavier than this one because it has this pin in it and this one didn't, so I put them both in, and the weight seems to be a lot more balanced now. Like I say, this one, if you're purely into flipping, you have other knives, and you just want to get something else for the collection, the Basilisk is great. I think it's amazing. Like I say, you never have any blade rub, you never have any blade tap. It's butter smooth. You keep it oiled and keep it maintained, and it's actually like that's the same as I got it when it came straight out the box. You know, it feels the same. And I've dropped it, and it's held up fine. You know, maybe a couple of little dings on the bottom of it here. You can see like tiny little chips and stuff, but the G10's actually, a lot of people say it feels rubbery compared to like a G10 you'd find on a replicant or something like that. But yeah, it seems to be tougher, you know, it seems to hold up to a bit more beating. But that tip will come off, you know. I think I resanded mine, but you can see how it's round, you know, it's rounded off. So that's a bit of a shame. But yeah, really, really nice knife. My fourth and final is a Flytanium 62. Right? Now this one, again, very, very nice to look at. Just the design of it, the blade shape's super cool. It comes from Kenfeng with like a really nice light stonewash on it. Let's see if I can bring that out. Can you see that? It's really very nice. Again though, very pointy, and you're likely to lose the tip if you flip it a lot like that. This one's super handle heavy though, where this one's long but it's neutral because it's thick. There's a lot of mass here. This one seems to be, this is very thin, you know, where, like, look at the difference in the blade stock, and that's why this one feels neutral and this one feels very blade handle heavy even. Also, you've got, you know, there's just a lot of handle there. You know, this knife's a lot shorter without the Flytanium handles on it. Now this one, it's probably the comfiest knife I own to actually use. Everything on it, again, it's all rounded very nicely. That little ding there, that's from me doing a little work on it. Ignore that. Yeah, everything's rounded. It's quite a thick knife. Again, it's not quite as thick as the Bass, but it is quite thick. The spine is rounded. It's not completely crowned, but it is rounded. And that's all the way up as well, all the way up the swedge. It's rounded as well, which is nice, you know, in case you get a bit sloppy and you slap yourself with the swedge. The hole pattern, I think it's you know, obviously it's reminiscent of a 42, but it's a little bit different, a little bit unique, which is nice. And it's like a grey bead blast on that. Like I say, it's a super nice knife, and this is very clean as well. I've had a look through this, and all the holes inside are super clean. The knife itself was very clean when I got it. The only problem I've had with this was the initial bushing that I had on the bite handle was, I think it was too small, you know. I think that's the thing with clones, you know, there's the quality control's off because they're cheaper, you know. It's just the way it is. But yeah, so the bushing I had to replace, and that was after I Loctited it, so I had an absolute nightmare trying to get it out. Hence why the inside of both of these handles are scratched up. So that was me trying to drill it out and slipping and putting my entire body weight on it to try and get the things out. But yeah, the this knife, I mean, with any of these, if you bought it and it was the only one you owned and you used it all the time, you get very proficient with it. You can get very good with any of these, you know. But I'd say if you're purely into flipping, you love flipping, you want something that's neutral, go for this. If you're learning and you want something that can do everything, including EDC, go for this. If you want something that you can use as a usable knife and you want to flip it, 51. Now, if you want something for the collection, basically, I'd go for the 62. I'd say if you started flipping and you bought one of these, you'd struggle, because like it does take a bit of practice. But if you own just this, I think you'd be okay to learn with it. My favourite, it's hard to call. If this had bushings, that would be my favourite. But because it doesn't, it's probably the best. I mean, just look at it. It's such a nice knife. Anyway, I hope this helps anybody if they're looking at buying any of these. Obviously, if you live in a place where you can get the real thing, I'd say go for it, because the steels that they're going to use are going to last you longer. The knife itself is going to last you longer. The warranties are worth their weight in gold, you know. And you know, you can sleep easy knowing that you're not a douchebag in the eyes of the Balisonging community. But for those of us outside America, in the EU, in Europe, or in the UK or whatever, these can be an option. You know, if you want something, especially if you know you're going to take it out and you're going to treat it like shit, you know, you might not want to spend 250. Spending 60 seems a bit more reasonable. But yeah, like I say, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this helps anybody if they're looking at any of these knives. I know this is being sold in titanium on Kampong store right now, and I would get one like in a heartbeat, because this is amazing. But the only thing I'd say about it is it could do with being a little bit heavier on handles. Yeah. Okay guys, thank you very much. Peace.